Most tax pros leave a message.
It's Jane. I'm moving on to a TurboTax expert who beat your price. Adam Devine, tell him how I feel.
Hey, tax pro, she's been thinking twice. Best believe TurboTax will beat your price. This is a tax break.
Switch to a TurboTax Live expert and we'll beat what you paid your pro last tax season. Make the switch at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice. TurboTax full service only. Sign up by 12/20/2024 and file by 4/1/2025. Full details at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice.
Right now, get scary good deals on select Ring cameras and doorbells. See who's there. Keep your scaredy cats company.
Oh, it's okay, sweetie. I'll be home soon.
And protect your crypt from the real monsters.
Oh, come on. The sign says take one.
Save big on select Ring devices right now at ring.com.
This is the plaintiff, Kathleen Bly. She says she gave the defendant money for a graduation trip for her granddaughter, and she asked about trip insurance because she was worried her granddaughter might not get her new passport in time. Sure enough, there was a snag at the passport office. The defendant didn't buy the trip insurance, and she's suing her for a full refund in the amount of $1,208 because she had to cancel going on the trip altogether. This is the defendant, Ava. She says she got the plaintiff a credit on the airfare and has been chasing the hotel for a refund. It's a real shame the plaintiff didn't just spend an extra $50 expediting the passport because they left on a Wednesday and the passport arrived on Friday. What a shame. She's accused of tripping up.
All parties, please use your right hand.
What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in civil court. Both parties have agreed to drop their claims and have their cases settled here before Judge Marilyn Milian in our forum, the People's Court.
People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian is now presiding.
Okay. Ms. Bly, you are suing Ms. Ava for $1,208 that you paid in order to have your granddaughter go on a trip with your daughter. How old are the girls?
14.
Okay. And who is this next to you?
This is Anaya. This is my daughter.
How old is she?
14.
Get out of here. For real?
Yeah.
All right. And your granddaughter is not here, right? Yeah. Okay. So what was this trip for, Ms. Bly?
A graduation gift.
From graduating from 8th grade?
Yes.
Okay. And quite the trip. Where were you going?
We went to Cancun, Mexico.
Nice. Mm-hmm. So was your family, were you taking the girls? How was that working out?
I would have been taking my daughter and Lucy, and then another friend and her daughter who also graduated 8th grade went as well.
So you would have been taking your daughter Anaya and Lucy, her granddaughter, and then somebody else was taking other girls that are friends of theirs?
Just her daughter and a friend of mine, yes. So it would have been 3 14-year-olds and 2 adults.
There we go. All right. So now, when did this trip get cooked up?
I want to say we probably started talking about it in February.
Okay. And the trip was supposed to be taken when?
June 8th.
All right. So you figure out, well, she's going to need a passport. So now you apply for the passport or her mother applied?
Her mom and dad took her to get her passport.
When did they take her to get her passport?
Beginning of May.
Why did they wait so long to take her to get her passport at the beginning of May if they were cooking it up in February? When was it paid for?
May 21st.
Okay, so they hadn't decided on, and so how long did they think the passport would take? The trip was in June.
Well, they told them that it would be there. That, it's been, so they were
It's
told.
the federal government.
Exactly.
They're known for not doing what they say they're gonna do, okay? So there's a way to get around that, which is paying $50 or $60 extra dollars for an expedite. They did not.
Paid that.
Of course you would have paid that. Any thinking human would have, but her mom and dad did not pay expedite. No. Oh, what could go wrong? The federal government says they'll have it in time. What? 6 weeks? They'll have it in 6 weeks, so it'll be 6 weeks. Cutting it a little close, right? Cutting it a little close for the federal government. gotten a little close for anybody. I just assume everyone's going to fail me at all times. It has really worked in my favor because I'm always prepared. It's a terrible way to live. However, you are always the most prepared person in the room. However, I can't believe they didn't pay the expedited fee.
Right. If I would have known, if they would have called me, I would have met them wherever, because I'm like that too.
Yeah.
I'm a super planner.
Yeah, that was nutty. All right, so anyway, that's what happens, and here's a shocker. You don't get the passport in time.
Right.
All right, now, tell me about the conversations that you had with Ava regarding how much it would be, how much a flight would be, how much a room would be, and what would happen in the event of a cancellation.
Right. On May 11th, I got a text message telling me how much it was, and I replied, because I'm a 30-year insurance agent, did you buy trip insurance? No. We were told if we cancel by June 6th.
Cancel what by June 6th?
The trip. Because
then you'd get what, all your money back?
Well, that's except the flight. We were told,
except you're suing for the flight back, aren't you?
Right.
Even though you know you're not supposed to get the flight back. All you would get is a credit, which you did get, right? Or the child got. That's how this works. Right.
And I talked to United, and they said it has to go through the travel agency.
You're not getting a refund on the flight. United will just give you a credit.
United was willing to transfer it to
another grown-up, to a grown-up.
Because she can't travel by herself.
Right, but she was very clear with you on that text that the flight wouldn't be refundable. Now, you did send her a text. What date is that text, May 11th? The one where it says it's refundable till June 6th.
Right.
Why did you send that text? Is that what you were told?
I was told that any cancellations that we wanted to do had to be done 3 days before our day of travel.
Who told you that?
We went through, it was Priceline is who it winded up being as our travel agent.
So have you reached out to Priceline and said, hey, here's your, did you have that in writing, the 3 day before thing?
I think it might have been
you have to be, because if you did it all online, it's all in writing.
Right.
So you should have something that says that and the ability to get that money back. What happened? Because I know you wrote a bunch of letters and you emailed and you talked to people. What happened?
It's just been the runaround. They told me originally when I was speaking to Priceline, they told me that we had to go through the hotel. So, and I'm like, okay, when we get to the hotel, this is going to be well after the 3 days before you guys are telling me cancellation. Let me just give you a piece
of advice. Whenever an internet company tells you you'll have to go through the hotel, they're passing you off to be someone else's problem, because the hotel's going to say, you have to go through Priceline, you paid them.
Which is exactly what happened as soon as we got there. Well, their big thing was, do we want to cancel the room? And I said, no, because we're still
and that's
here.
the rub, isn't it?
Yes.
So now, how many did you have? Did she have her own room? No. She was sharing
a room with us.
But it's an all-inclusive resort, so you figured something would come back. But so they start to realize the passport's not coming. And she tells you a few days before June 6th, which is supposedly the big deadline, she tells you, hey, is it June 6th at 12:01? Like, she's trying to cancel in time to get her money back. And then she does tell you before June 6th, my granddaughter doesn't have a passport.
Yes.
She's not going to be able to make it. All right. So you try with Priceline, they say talk to the hotel. You talk to the hotel, they say go to Priceline. Are you able to get a human when you call Priceline?
I have been speaking to a human, yes.
At Priceline?
Yeah.
And what did they say?
They told me that they would get back to me in 2 business days the last time that I talked. No.
Right. No. So she has no ability to talk to Priceline, right? Because she's not the customer.
Because I booked the trip, yes.
Right. So she feels, well, she's suing for the whole thing. I assume your answer on the flight is, what do you mean? I told you real clearly on the flight, so you're safe on that. What portion of the 1208 was hotel?
6. I don't know. Well, hold on. We could do some quick math here. 591.08 was her flight. Right. So 1208 minus that.
So why isn't she right that you are unique, that you gave her misinformation because you're not able to do what you thought would be easy to do? And why isn't it your job to get what you thought would be easy to do, the cancellation for her, from Priceline? And plus, you know what? No good deed goes unpunished. Because as it turns out, when did your granddaughter get the passport?
They left on Wednesday, it came Saturday.
Right, and then you even say, bring her to the airport. I'll go pick her up at the airport, which is the sweetest thing because you don't want the kids to miss out. And what was your response?
I did not get that message.
It went to her mom.
And her mom said, nah, she'll go next time. What next time? There is, I mean, how could you not? I would have sent my kid, like the idea that was she suffering? Was your granddaughter suffering that she, Miss?
She was sad.
Of course she's sad. And how many days were you guys going to be in Cancun?
7.
7 days, so she was only going to miss 2 of the 7. Why wasn't she just sent?
This is the first time I heard that.
She did reach out to your daughter and say, hey, just bring her and, figure it out. That means that they would have to just change the flights and do what they got, or schedule the flight. Mm-hmm. And she would go pick her up on the other end. Everything would have been perfect.
It would have been.
You gonna have a little chit chat with your daughter? All right. I don't know. I have the weakness as a parent, and I know my girls are good girls. They're not spoiled. I try very hard for them not to be spoiled because they are growing up in, let's just say, a different way than I grew up.
Spoiled.
Basically. They are growing up, we were poor. And I try very hard for my children to not take blessings for granted, if you understand what I mean. So, but I just, COVID? What do you mean they're not having a prom? We're having a prom, and we had a prom a year later. The parents threw the prom. I'm like, I will not have what do you mean we're not having a graduation? Boom, I'm on the graduation committee. And the kids had a graduation a year later because life is short and brutish and cruel. And these moments, these memories, did you have a good time in Cancun, honey? Yeah. Did you miss her? Did you miss Lucy? Yeah. You guys are still friends, right? Everything's good between you guys.
We had a few arguments about it. Like, she was really upset, and she was kind of taking it out on me.
Upset what? That her mother didn't pay the expedite fee?
Yeah.
And trusted the federal government to be exactly on time and not 2 days late? No, Lucy needs a readjustment in that regard.
We worked it out. We're all right now.
You worked it out. Yeah. Good, because, there's nothing like the friends who you've known for all of your life later on. The friends who've known you since you were a child, that's just delicious. There's something about it. Let me talk to you, Ava, because no good deed goes unpunished. And what you should have done when she said, did you buy trip insurance, is you should have told her, I did not, but would you like me to add it? It will be an additional X. Mm-hmm. Because if you didn't buy trip insurance and you're under this impression that it can be canceled, you better be right about that. Like, you better have it in writing from Priceline somewhere, because you got that idea from somewhere. Mm-hmm. So you got to fight Priceline because you're going to get the money back if it's true, if you're right. And if you're not right, you shouldn't be proclaiming it. The problem is I have to hold you to what you said because you put yourself in charge of all the plans. So she can't talk to Priceline, so the only information she has is what you guaranteed her. Right. Of course, not on the flight, because you were clear about that, but on the room. And frankly, I don't think the room was they were never going to refund $16.92. They would only refund the food. Right. So you overreached when you told her you can cancel until then. What you should have done is said to her, no, but go ahead and buy the trip insurance. Tell me, let me go on, let me see what, because then you take it off your plate. Your ear should always be listening for whether you are taking on something that you don't want to take on, and whether, you can remove yourself from being in the middle. And you're an insurance, what did you say you were?
For many years, an agent.
And when she tells you she didn't buy insurance, why didn't you say, well, I want to buy insurance, get back on so we can buy insurance?
Hindsight.
Yeah, hindsight. That should be foresight on the part of the insurance agent. However, what she should have done is different from what she legally had to do. What she legally had to do was nothing, because you accidentally said to her, it's no problem. 3 days before, and we're fine on the hotel, you get your money back, which is completely wrong, because you rented the same number of rooms. Right. So what you should have said is, hold on a second, let me check. No, you would only get the food back, and maybe you should get insurance. That's what should have happened. In any event, because of your guarantee to her, I don't have a choice, because you're the agent for Priceline. You're the one telling her how it's going to go down, which you shouldn't have taken upon yourself. So I am going to order this $616.92 returned, because I really feel that I don't know whether you'll be able to get that whole amount, but you shouldn't have told her that you could. So you should be talking to Priceline and trying to see if you can get something back, because you should get something back if you're right about the 3-day thing. and you told them. Okay. And you have the email to Priceline or the message to Priceline that says, I'm canceling. You have that?
Yes.
For, you know, before June, whatever.
Yes,
right.
yes.
Okay. All right. Good luck to you getting some of that back. Ruling in favor of the plaintiff in the amount of the hotel, not the airfare. Tough for you on the airfare. Figure it out. And I'm really sorry that Lucy didn't get to go, because the only one who had no control over the adults was Lucy. So wish you all well. Bye-bye.
So the plaintiff prevails in this case, but she only gets half of what she was suing for. The defendant has to pay her back $616. Ava, what are you thinking right now?
It didn't go how I expected it to go, but I mean, what can you do? I guess I could still try and fight Priceline for the refund.
Well, that's exactly what the judge said you should do. Keep after them. And will you?
Yes. I need my money back.
All right, you really have no other option.
No.
Yeah, just do that and good luck to you, okay?
Thank you.
I gather you've learned something from this experience, am I right?
Yeah, get traveler's insurance.
Good idea. Very good indeed. All right, thank you very much. Sorry, but $616, that's what you owe the plaintiff. The exit is on your left.
Thank
okay?
you.
All right. Well, let's see what the plaintiff has to say. She was an insurance agent for many years. What do you think, Ms. Bly?
I do. That's what I expected, to just get the part of minus the airfare. That's what I expected.
You sound like you seem satisfied.
Yes, I am. And we'll plan a trip for Lucy to go somewhere with the airfare.
Well, good enough. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Harvey, what are your thoughts on this issue?
You know, Doug, there's a word that was used in the court, reliance, and that is such a key word that in this case, the plaintiff had a right to rely on the defendant. And reliance actually becomes a legal principle in cases like this and means the difference between winning and losing, assuming the reliance is justified.
So, Marilyn, how did your dog, Sammy, lose part of her tongue?
So Sammy is a cancer survivor, and she had a growth on her tongue maybe 5 years ago.
Right. And it just looked like a little, maybe an ulcer or a red spot.
As soon as I noticed it, I took her in, and they performed surgery, and they're aggressive, just like when humans. They try to take as much out so that the lines are clean, and they've gotten it all out.
So
they did get it all out.
Almost a third. I mean,
so for 5 years, she was cancer-free, but it's kind of back now.
Yeah, it's kind of, she's 13 years old.
She's 13.
Or just about, so she's
So she just had surgery again on Thursday, right before her birthday.
She's sort of playing with the house's money already at 13 for a dog, because that's what, 90-something years old.
But we'll see. We're waiting for the biopsy, and we'll see how it goes.
She's happy, and
she's happy.
Seems pretty healthy right now.
She does seem healthy now.
She's getting spoiled even more than usual.
That's right, because she's here at the People's Court.
Yes, she is.
Listen in. Starbucks. It's a great day for coffee.
This is the plaintiff, William Attardi. He says he rented a room in the defendant's house in a gated community, and the guy cut off his ability to order food for delivery in a pandemic. The defendant has some gall. He had to move out, and the defendant has the nerve to keep his security? Please. He's suing for $2,338. Every penny. This is the defendant, Winston Parks. He says the plaintiff stopped paying his rent. He moved out without telling him, and this guy is owed nothing because he broke his lease. He's accused of lousy landlording. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $3,000 for unpaid back rent.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says that he rented a room in the defendant's house, but the guy wouldn't let him order food from a delivery service because of the pandemic, so he is owed money because he moved out. The defendant says that the guy stopped paying rent, and if anyone's owed money today, it's not the plaintiff. It's the case of roommates, yes, postmates, no.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. Attardi, you rented a room from Mr. Parks, correct?
Yes.
And he has not returned your security deposit. Things did not exactly go well between the two of you. Tell me what it is that happened that caused the breakdown here.
I moved in August 22nd. There were changes and delays to get in there, and Mr. Parks left the residence to go to Fort Myers.
Was the idea that you were renting a room and he had the other room?
He had his bedroom locked.
Okay.
He wanted to know if I wanted to rent the whole house with the other bedroom also for like $1,400. And I said, no, I just want to rent that room. And I had access to the family room, the living room, and the kitchen.
Was there ever a time when you lived with him?
No.
Okay, go on.
So I stayed there, and the following week, he wanted to get a new refrigerator. So he gets a new refrigerator. The following day, he wants to know if I know a contractor to put in flooring. So he wanted me there to sell the place. So he had realtors coming to the house. I had to keep the house clean.
Was that, did you know that? Was that part of your agreement that you would, did you have a lease or was it, did you have a month to month?
It was a lease up until June. But he said if he sold the house, I was to vacate the house within 45 days, 30 to 45 days.
Okay.
And we agreed on that.
Okay.
So I'm there less than 2 months. I clean the house, show the house to everyone. October 18th, he emails me and says, I have a buyer. Can you be out in 45 days? I called him up. I said, yes, I'll be out December 1st. So he sends me emails also after that to confirm that I was leaving December 1st and emails to say that he was coming there on December 1st. So
Okay.
I had to be out by December 1st.
Okay.
So I paid rent on the 22nd of each month. I paid rent for November 22nd up until December 22nd. But I left December 1st.
I'm sorry, if you had an agreement to leave December 1st, why were you paying rent on November 22nd?
I just paid the whole thing. I didn't know I was leaving for sure because I just paid it just to get out of there.
Okay, do you have any proof that you paid the rent? Do you have any proof that you paid rent on November?
Yes, it has it on the emails that rent is due on the 22nd.
Right, that's not my question.
December.
That would be proof that rent is due on the 22nd of December. My question is, do you have proof that you paid it?
I probably do have proof.
How did you pay your rent? Customarily, how did you pay it?
Check.
Okay.
By check.
So do you have a canceled check for proof of payment of your rent for November 22nd?
I don't have that with me, no. I could probably get that, but I don't have it with me now.
All right. So you can't prove that you paid rent for the month of December. According to you, you had an agreement to leave December 1st, but on November 22nd, you paid rent. And then you are suing for a refund of the rent you paid that you cannot prove that you paid. You're also suing for double your security deposit because he did not return your entire security deposit. Did he return any of your security deposit?
He sent me a check for $154. I deposited in the bank about 4 weeks later, and the check had a stop on it.
Okay.
There was a stop on the check for $154.
All right. And so he told you then, in the letter that he sent you, what did he itemize as the reason why he was keeping the security, or most of it?
He said there was a gas bill for $152. All along, he's sending me gas bills for like $30, $35, $28. All of a sudden, in his letter, he says the gas bill is $152.
Okay. Had you been paying the gas bills, or was
the electric is?
Wait, hold on. Had you been paying the gas bills every month?
Yes.
And how would you pay the
Yes, I
gas
have.
bills? You would give him the money for it?
He would send me an estimate and send me an email. I sent you emails.
Yes, I got lots of emails. Now I need you to listen to my question, because I am not asking you for emails. I am asking you if you have proof of having paid the gas bills the prior months and how much you had been paying.
I could probably get my Santander thing online, but that's all blocked because of a scam I had on my thing. So I don't do any of my banking online anymore.
Okay, so then how would you get it? Okay. All right.
I could go to the bank and probably get
Yeah, no, we're in trial now. I mean, these are things that we, all right. Let me ask you, Mr. Parks, why were you keeping the portions of a big chunk of his security deposit?
Because he never paid the rent for December.
Oh, Well, here we go. And this is why we like to have proof of rent of December, because typically what happens in court is two people disagree. All right. So according to you, he never paid rent on November 22nd.
Or utilities.
Or utilities.
He wasn't paying it and he wasn't there. He abandoned my
Did he
house.
abandon it, or did you ask him to leave by December 1st?
We both had, as you pointed out, an adversary relationship developing. And I says, you could leave. So he never told me he left. He left on his own accord. There was no agreement like rent, the utilities and all that. He just left. And while I'm saying the word abandonment is that he just left the gas on, the water on in the middle of the winter, never returned me my key, and that's how it came about.
How did you end up getting the key?
I had to call the police.
And how did you end up getting the key?
He knew that I was in Florida and I needed the key for New Jersey where he was renting. So I called the police up and they in turn called him up. And then what he did was he sent the key down to Florida, like it's really going to help me out a lot.
Well,
so I had to send the key back.
What instructions had you given him about the key?
The logical place was, I suggested, drop it off at the HOA.
Well, that is right. That is the logical place. But I do see a text where you tell him to mail it to Florida, or an email where you tell him to mail it to Florida. That's why I was surprised by that email. You got a lot of emails from him, Mr. Attardi, where you kind of just ignored him and blew him off. Why were you doing that?
At the end of October, he said that the rent is not for $850 anymore. It's $1,495. So I owe him all this back money, and I owe him money in the future. It's going to be increased. The rent is going to be increased. It was on 10/28.
Mr. Parks, I did see the email where you said if you stay, you have to pay $1,450. What was that about?
I never raised the rent to $1,450.
Well, why did you send that email saying that? You sent an email saying that
because it probably included the utilities.
No, that's not true. Because the rent. No, that's not true.
There was another email, 10/22, Your Honor.
Yeah, and what does that one say?
That says lease that I am supposed to be paying is $14.95 per month.
Right. Okay. Well, you never did pay that, right? So that's not really an issue, right? The issue is your security deposit. And the reason that you kept the security deposit, Mr. Parks, is for a $152 gas bill that spans from November 25th to December 31st. And what else did you keep from the security deposit, Mr. Parks?
Late fee.
Late fee for what?
Not paying the rent.
No, exactly late fees of how much for what months?
For the month of December.
How much in late fees did you withhold?
$15.
What else did you withhold?
Before, Your Honor, that I didn't pay for December.
Right, that's why there's a late fee. Because you haven't paid it. That makes perfect sense. That's what he's saying.
I did pay that.
I know I'm going to need proof of that. So you be figuring out how you're going to prove to the judge that the thing you're suing for you paid. Because that's kind of basic. You don't need to be a lawyer to know that. Go ahead, Mr. Parks. What were you saying? What else did you deduct? Did you send him a letter explaining what you were deducting?
Yes. And I itemized all the reasons, rationale behind why I reduced the amount of the return of the deposit.
Well, there's so much correspondence that it's very, very hard for me to, because basically the way I see this is you were writing him a lot and he was ignoring you the whole time. And that was making you nuts, Mr. Parks. Would that be fair to say? And you kept asking him to communicate with you. He wouldn't communicate with you. Let me ask you, Mr. Attardi, I know that there were many times that he had asked you to leave. But then if you send the rent check, how does he know that you're going to leave? Do you ever bother to say to him, listen, I am leaving, and I'm leaving on this day?
Yes, I did. I told him several times I was leaving December 1st.
Show me proof that you said you were leaving December 1st.
I even have the email that says that my...
Show me proof where you tell him I will be leaving December 1st. And while he's looking for that, Mr. Parks, can you tell me why you stopped payment on the check that you did pay to him?
I sent it to him in January 11th, the $150-something as the return of his deposit. So he did not cash it deliberately. so that I would send him, and he says, and I have emails from him saying that he never received it. Well, that turned out to be a lie because he tried to cash it a couple months later.
Months? When did he try to cash it? When did you try to cash it, Mr. Attardi?
It was about 6 weeks later, Your Honor. I put it in the console of my car, and then I finally deposited it in the bank.
Are you sure it wasn't April? That would be 3 months later.
April that I tried to... I think it was 4/20, yes, Your Honor, 4/19
right, so that's
and
3
4/20.
months later, not 6 weeks later, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I have it right here.
Okay.
On 4/14, he tried to cash
what I'm going to need is an email where you notified him you were leaving December 1st, because he says what you did was abandon the place.
Okay. It's 10/28, Your Honor. It says, my reference, Tracy, says that you'll be out December 1st. And he says, you can stay till August or December 1st.
No, once again, you're telling me the things that other people say. Like what he says to you. Well, then, you're the guy who's supposed to give notice that you're leaving. So did you give notice that you're leaving? Not did a friend of yours say that you...
Yes, on the phone.
Okay. Oh, now it's on the phone.
Talking to him on the phone.
Because you guys you don't even respond to text or emails. But I'm to believe that you made phone calls and you're chit-chatting with him. Okay.
You're
all right. I got it. What else did you withhold for besides gas and electric, Mr. Parks?
Gas, electric, and the internet. $311 for rent.
How did you calculate that?
It's clearly because I was unaware of exactly when he was leaving until finally I had to call the police.
So what number did you use? How did you come up with 311?
Okay, because if he left on the 22nd, on the 2nd of January, then that is before the 22nd when the rent was due for January.
January?
So I prorated it. Because
all right, let's stop. All right, Mr. Attardi, let me ask you a question. If you're unable to prove to me that you gave him notice that you were leaving, all right, because you looked for it in the emails and you couldn't find anywhere where you told him, I'll be out December 1st, correct?
Correct, Your Honor, correct.
Right. Then why wouldn't he be entitled to another month's rent since you didn't give him the adequate notice? And you're not even allowed to bail. Like, in other words, he is allowed to bail if he sells a place and gives you 30 to 45 days, according to your written agreement. You don't get to bail. According to your written agreement. But let's assume you could. You would still need to give the same notice. And I don't have you giving notice at all. So why wouldn't he be entitled to keep your security deposit when you do leave out of the blue?
Your Honor, I told him over the phone I was leaving.
You told him over the phone, I'm not going to buy. You realize that. Watch this. Did he tell you?
And
did he tell you he was leaving over the phone, Mr. Parks? Your reference is not you giving notice. That's not legally adequate. Mr.
But he
Parks,
also said you
did
could
Mr.
leave December
Attardi ever
1st.
tell
It's
you
okay.
over the first? It doesn't matter. You got to tell him you're doing it. He doesn't know that you're doing it. If he doesn't know that you're doing it, he can't re-rent it. He can't take precautions to make sure the pipes don't freeze, which is why he says you abandoned his place.
Welcome back to the People's Court. The plaintiff says, boy, does this defendant have gall thinking that he can keep the security given the circumstances on how he had to leave. But the defendant is saying he owes squat. Let's go back into the courtroom and find out who's going to lose.
Your Honor, I would cringe when I saw an email from him.
Why?
Cringe. Read his emails.
Yeah, I have.
$14.95 a month you're paying. All of a sudden, you're paying $14.95 a month.
Right. Why don't you just answer?
The reason why he got his house sold up here is because of me. I painted the living room, the family room. Then he wanted the bathroom painted and his bedroom. Give me an estimate on that.
Okay,
I know you did.
I reimbursed him for that.
Okay, Mr. Attardi, I don't know why you think that supplants your legal requirements. You can't just abandon a lease without telling somebody, this is what I'm going to do. It doesn't matter that if he sends you 20 unanswered emails, which he did, saying you need to get out of there by the 1st, you need to say, okay, I'm leaving by the 1st. You can't just leave them in the air and he has no idea that you're leaving by the 1st. And you can't point to someone else who referred you to him, who now he's upset at because look at how things turned out, and say, somebody else told him I was leaving. That's not really how it works. Okay, so I find that he's he's entitled to keep the security deposit because of this notice thing, because you actually have a lease and you don't even have a right to get out of the lease. Now, why are you counterclaiming against him $3,000? Lord help us. You actually are suing him for all of the lease until the end of his lease in August, but I find that 1 month is sufficient for you to find another tenant. Did you end up getting back there in December?
I didn't arrive back there until March.
So how did you end up getting the place winterized?
I got the key, and I had a neighbor go in there and turn the water off.
Right.
Turn the heat down. The heat was turned up excessively.
How high was the heat turned up to?
74. Should be 68.
Okay.
And then the water.
That's not true, Your Honor. I left it at 62, Your Honor.
Okay, go on, Mr. Parks. Go ahead.
So the water was insignificant, but
okay, all right.
Water doesn't matter.
Well, I think we can all agree that this did not go very well. And part of why it did not go very well is because there were, you say you cringe every time he was going to send an email. I would hazard a guess that there would be fewer than 40 emails a day if he got an answer to one of them. You were making him crazy by completely ghosting him. He was in another state worried about his property. You weren't paying utilities and he was getting mad. He thinks in November when you pay the rent that all is good in the hood because he ends up telling you, I hope we don't have problems after this. And then according to you, you left December 1st, but there's no proof that you left December 1st. There's nowhere where you tell him that you're going to leave December 1st. I don't know why you would think that this would go anywhere but south in a situation like this, where there's zero communication from you. On your lawsuit against him, Mr. Attardi, I find that he's entitled to keep your entire security. So I'm not even going to order him to pay you the 100 and something that you didn't cash for 3 months and then are surprised that he finally stopped payment on it. And Mr. Parks, on your counterclaim against him, I find that keeping the security deposit should suffice. That's my verdict. Good luck, folks.
Mr. Parks, you're the defendant in the case. You did not win your countersuit. What do you think about what the judge just said?
It's obvious since he abandoned the place, there was no rent being paid by anybody. So the place was left empty, and I'm losing money per month because he decided on his own initiative to move out. And I'm entitled for the lease that calls for $850 from him to be paid monthly till the end of the agreed to lease.
It's kind of tough doing what you do while you're in Florida and he's up in the New York area, New York, New Jersey.
Right.
It's really difficult, isn't it?
It's difficult in the fact that the biggest mistake was made in not checking his background and what kind of a person he is, and landing up with a lowlife that rented my house. There's no question about it.
Oh, you've learned a valuable lesson.
History of doing this. Yes, I've learned a valuable lesson.
All righty, that's the way the judge has decided. You're going to have to live with it. Harvey?
This could have gone such a different way if the plaintiff would have put the necessary stuff in writing. When you're dealing with a landlord, especially when you're moving out, put everything in writing.
My mother passed of COVID in August, and I wasn't informed on my mom's passing till I got on Facebook and saw her funeral. I want to know, can I sue them for not letting me know my mom passed? I'm not sure who them is.
I'm going to assume that them is family members who didn't inform the questioner about the funeral. That's kind of how it sounded implied to me. But this type of question, I don't even know where to begin with this, because on the one hand, I feel very sad for someone who missed their mom's funeral. On the other hand, you can't get it back. But on the other hand,
how do you not know that she's passed since last August? When was the last time you talked to her? Obviously, there's some kind of rift.
Get off of Facebook and get on Mom Book or something. And just get more. Unfortunately, that maybe they had strained relationship or something like that, and they didn't see a lot of each other.
And that doesn't entitle you to a cash payout.
No, it's like I overslept and I missed the test. Can I sue the people who made my alarm clock? It didn't go off. It's incumbent on you to be informed about that, to be on top of that. And, you know, when I heard the question, I thought to myself, this would never happen in a Cuban-American family, because if somebody goes to the hospital in that family for a hangnail, there's a vigil, there's a candlelight vigil in the waiting room outside of like the entire family, constantly coming and going.
Security comes and says you have too many people in your room.
Right.
And of course, we have been very lucky, and no one in my family's been hospitalized for COVID. But the whole idea that because you couldn't even come in with your family member if your family member was dropped off for COVID because of the pandemic. That would have just been really hard.
Yeah, tough situation.
Okay, that's going to do it for this session of the People's Court. By the way, you want more People's Court? Check out our podcast. Check out our YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.